And welcome to the Be Real, Get Real podcast. I am your host, Nancy Matthews, and I'm one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network. And we created this podcast so that you could connect with some women who are up to extraordinary things in their own lives, being of service to others in their businesses, in their communities, and in the world. And that through the process of being real with who they are, sharing their stories and getting real with who they really could be and how they can serve, that you'll see yourself in an opportunity to expand and increase your impact in another way. Today, my guest is Kathryn Yarborough, and I am so grateful to have you with us. Good morning.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us today.
I'm delighted to be here, of course.
Fantastic. And I love today's conversation. We're going to talk about being an unstoppable entrepreneur. And Kathryn's going to be diving into her story in just a few minutes. Let me tell you a little bit about her background. She began her entrepreneurship in 2001 with a clear vision and a sense of purpose, but life changes. And by 2013, she had plummeted into uncertainty and confusion, something many of you may be feeling around now. Using the process that she's going to share with us a little bit about today, she was able to build herself, her business, her vision back up, and she's now on the journey and is an unstoppable solopreneur. She's the creator of the Manifesting Clients Academy, an inspirational speaker, and the author of the soon-to-be published book, The Unstoppable On Purpose Solopreneur's Handbook. Much needed. Thank you for putting it together. Kathryn teaches heart-based, on-purpose solopreneurs how to unleash their light on Facebook, manifest clients, and grow a business they truly love. So yummy, yummy. We're going to have a great conversation. So Kathryn, I'm actually going to ask you to dive into your story in two ways. So in 2001 is when you first went into entrepreneurship. So what was the impetus for that?
So I started my business as a dance movement therapist in private practice as a dance movement therapist. And the impetus for it was that I had years earlier actually felt called to teach people that in order to be okay, be healthy, to thrive, we needed to integrate our body, our mind, our emotions, and our behavior. And that was way back when I was about 24, I had that inspiration. So I went off to school, I became a dance movement therapist, and then I started working in a hospital setting with people who had mental illness and eating disorders, and discovered while that was interesting and I learned a lot, it was not really doing the work I was called to do yet. Because I really wasn't making the kind of difference that I thought I potentially could make, because people who were in a hospital setting, at least at the time, they really weren't in a place to make the kind of positive changes that I really wanted to make. So I started a private practice and I learned all about how to do that. I read books on marketing and manifestation and how to do that. So that got me started as an entrepreneur.
Fantastic. And I want to dial in on that because the path that you took to get to where you are now started off on the traditional path most of us know. You go to school, you get training, you go to work at a company. And what I'm hearing is your purpose more than fills the space that was created for you to serve. And that kind of comes back to what we talk about in the Science of Getting Rich, that you brought to that job more than the job had space for you to really fulfill. Because there's lots of great jobs out there, just that particular environment didn't give you the space for the fullest expression of what you were here to do. So you thought, okay, I got to bust out and create it.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, let me ask a question, because when we're talking about being unstoppable, were there times of uncertainty and confusion for you back then?
Absolutely. When I was first starting, I was creating a private practice. My vision, I had a clear vision where I was working with people in one-on-one sessions, and I was also doing workshops. And my vision also included that I'd be working with people for years because, back then that's what we did. And I love the idea of having a long-term relationship with people over time. So I had a clear vision, but I had never done one-on-one work before. And everything, except for a very few clients at the hospital, most of the work that I'd done in the hospital was group work. And it was different. The people, it's very different to work with regular people, even people who, at the time, my ideal clients were women who had body image issues. And so there was a similarity, but very different. So I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I spent several years. Oh my God, I had so many things to work out, Nancy. But a big part of it was I don't know what I'm doing. So I inner confidence that enabled me to actually step up and attract clients and work with clients. And what I teach people now is, if you want to grow your confidence, you have to do work. You have to work with people. And when you work with people, then you build your confidence. So yeah, so that was a big thing. I had so much to learn about designing packages and promoting them. And oh my goodness, I used to not feel comfortable networking. And if you've seen me now, which you have seen me, I can work a room.
You work a room and you show up in such a beautiful way. And we met obviously through Women's Prosperity Network. We just figured it out. It was about 3.5 years ago. So we're delighted that you're part of our community and you bring so much.
I love the community. So can I just say something right now about the community?
Would I stop you?
Oh, no, I wouldn't if I were you. So ladies, and men, but mostly ladies, if you are on the fence about joining the Women's Prosperity Network in any way, shape, or form, get off the fence, jump in. Every single event I have done that Nancy and her sister Trish have led, I have totally loved it. I know coming up in December is your classic level up. I don't know if it's going to be classic or revised, whatever, because you always interest me. I'm going to be there. Sign up for that. Find out. Talk to Nancy, Trish, Stephanie, Susan, whoever you need to talk to. But get into Level Up because it's going to be online, so you don't have to worry about COVID. Yeah, and you can join us from anywhere. So it's going to be great, I'm sure.
Well,
am I right? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right on. And so in the process, and I'm going to segue us back into your story in a moment, in the process of leveling up, I believe that's something that we're meant to continuously do. Like, as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be leveling up, because number one, I enjoy new things. Number two, if I'm still breathing, I'm meant to be growing, just like the trees and the plants and all of that. That's what we're here for as human beings, right? So you've got your own practice, and then something happened around 2013. Share with us what happened there.
Well, I had been working in person. And then different things called me to move my private practice online. Anyway, long story. It's a long story, but a lot of stuff really hit the fan around money. Mm-hmm. And so because of the transition from working in person to online working, and really not knowing at the time how to do this thing that we now can do so easily. We've got Zoom, we've got Facebook, and in 2013, I don't know about Zoom. Zoom wasn't here for sure. Facebook was just becoming something we were using for promoting ourselves, those of us in this realm. And anyway, I didn't know what I was doing. And so my financial situation plummeted. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was supposed to create online programs, which I did some, and I, sold a little bit, but didn't make enough money. And I mean, I was lost and confused. Seriously. Yeah. So
I would say that there are several people listening in who either are feeling that right now or absolutely can relate to having felt that in the past. And I know I've been there. And this is where being unstoppable comes into play, because that could be a turning point of giving up and taking all those signs as messages. Well, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. I'll go get a job and or switch careers again. Like, that's what happens to us when those periods of doubt come in. So how do we get through to be unstoppable in following our passion and maybe refining the vision a little bit?
Well, so, it's interesting. I'll share a little bit more about my story that I don't tell many people. And that is that I actually took a year, and I think it was 2014, where I have a mother who is very different with money. And she learned about the stock market years ago. Her dad gave her stocks when she was in her 20s. And so she's been buying and selling stocks for years. So for as long as I can remember, Nancy, the woman has been saying, well, let me teach you about the stock market. Let me tell you about the stock market. Let me do this with you, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, stay away. I didn't, because she's got some stuff about money that I don't like. I really didn't want to take on her money stuff. So as a result, I pushed it away, which is not always good. Long story shorter, 2014, I said, I'm lost and confused. Let me take some time and play with you, Mom. Teach me what you know. Here's what I think we should do for a year. And so while I was still on Facebook and I was still selling my program and still working with a handful of clients, I also played in the stock market. And one of the things that I learned about it, first of all, I'm very comfortable now buying and selling stock. Pat myself on the back. I know how to do that. Not many women can say that, which is pretty cool. So thank you, Mom. But I also learned that it didn't have meaning to me. Just this buying and selling of stuff, there was no meaning. I came out of that year going, I need to do something that has meaning.
And meaning is, for you and for me as well, about our connection, our service, and interaction with other people. Right?
Exactly. And I started looking at, well, okay, if that's what matters, how do I do that? What do I want to offer? What do I want to do that will have me feel like it matters? So I think that in order to be unstoppable, it's helpful to identify that kind of a thing, like what really matters to you. That core thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your upcoming book, the Unstoppable, what is it? The Unstoppable on Purpose, because that's all connected in there, Solopreneur's Handbook. Why did you decide to create this?
Okay. All right. Because of your sister, Trish.
Yay!
Well, I don't do much without thinking about the marketing side of it and how will it serve my business? How, is it monetizable, that kind of thing. And I realized that it would be really, really good for me to have a book. I'm not a person who feels like I'm a writer. I've got to write. So I really decided to do this book because I want to have a book for my business. And also, I guess on the other side of it, on the more meaningful side, is that I kind of came in the past year to the recognition that there are things that I know that maybe are unique.
Good.
When I got really clear about, I think that in order to be unstoppable, we need to have a vision for the future that excites us. And while we may hear that in certain ways, I think my particular take on that piece of it is, comes from such a purposeful path and spiritual path that I think that what I have to say will hopefully be useful to the people who get my book and read it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It will. And so thank you for listening to the various taps you got to create the book, one of which was Trish. And sometimes the taps are a little stronger than a tap, but that's okay. Because sometimes we need that to kick into action, right? I know I have. And, in this, I'm going to just do a marketing aside for a moment. One of the purposes that having a book or an online course creates is a book gives you credibility and it raises you, because if we look at the number of people on the planet who've written books, there's a small percentage that have actually written books. And then the second piece of it is, it's that process of giving people an opportunity to get familiar with what you offer so that they can get to know you, like you, and trust you. And then if you're the right fit, do business with you. And I think that's part of what you also teach solopreneurs to create. Yes?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. Is there any final thought you'd like to share with our audience today, and to support them in being unstoppable? So think of it in this way. Somebody's listening right now who has been getting knocked down, and they haven't figured out how to get back up again yet. What would you say for them?
I believe that inside all of us is a purpose. In particular, us on purpose, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and small business owners feel it, it calls to us. And I believe that purpose is something bigger than each of us individually. And I think one of the reasons why we can let that knock us down, and it can let life knock us down, and we can ignore that purpose, is because we may not truly believe in it. But I want to invite you to consider the possibility that because it feels like it's put in us, it's maybe we were born with it, maybe we're called to it because of what's happening on the planet. But if you feel that sense of purpose, that sense of calling, I invite you to believe, even if you don't understand why, that there's a bigger reason for it. And please get back up and say yes to it, and let that feeling call you to be unstoppable.
That was beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Words of wisdom from Kathryn Yarborough. I appreciate you, my friend, so much. And I encourage you all to reach out to Kathryn. Her contact information is here on the page for you. And until next time, continue on, my friends. Answer the call, rise up, be that contribution, and get out there and be real, be yourself, be authentic, get real with who you need to be to answer that call and achieve real results, not just for yourself, but for every single life you impact. I appreciate all of you. This is Nancy Matthews signing off. We'll see you next time for the Be Real, Get Real podcast.